Okay, it is the day before school and I was inspired by my very good friend to do this little ASMR video. I'm trying to whisper, I can't really tell if I'm whispering or not though. But I'm really excited. I thought it'd be fun. I'm kind of nervous because the thing is to just do this in like one take, no editing. So I'm excited to not edit, but I'm a little nervous to like not mess up. I don't really have any plan either, but that's okay. I'm really excited. It's Sunday, so I just went to yoga, got a little bubble tea here. I can't drink it because like then I have to chew the things. But anyway, so basically I thought it'd be fun to go through and just read the like descriptions from all of the books I got over Christmas, like for Christmas as gifts and like gift cards and stuff like that. So yeah, I have this huge sack, so it might be a bit of a long video, but that's okay. So first, I feel like I'm like kind of out of center. Okay, so it's a little better. First is Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner, and so it is a New York Times bestseller. It's a memoir. I'm really excited to start reading this. This is the first one that I'm planning on reading after I finish The Idiot right now, which I'm reading by Elif Batuman. So here's it. Oh, this fine crack. ASMR. Anyway, so from the indie rock musician known as Japanese Breakfast, an unflinching, powerful story of family, food, grief, and love. When Michelle Zauner was in her mid-20s, working as a waitress and struggling to launch her music career in Philadelphia, she got a call that her mother was ill. She put her life on hold and flew home to Eugene, Oregon, to be with her mother through the final, excruciating months of her battle with cancer. This is Zauner's searingly candid coming-of-age story of growing apart from and then back together with her Korean identity and of forging her own path in the wake of a devastating loss. With humor and heart, she tells of growing up Asian American, straining to meet her mother's expectations, moving across the country, and returning home to reckon with grief. She recalls treasured childhood holidays spent in her grandmother's tiny apartment in Seoul, and now in adulthood, learning to cook the Korean dishes that revive and nourish those memories. She savors the unexpected solace of weekly trips to her favorite Asian grocery store. Vivacious and plain-spoken, lyrical and honest, Zauner's voice is as radiantly alive on the page as it is on stage. Crying in H Mart is an exquisite debut, a book to cherish, share, and reread. I'm really excited to read this because I've heard so many great things and I really love memoirs, so it should be a really good read. Yeah, and I love the cover art. It's really pretty. It's very like bold. The next one is a bit of an easier read. I tend to like gravitate towards more literary fiction, probably because I'm like obsessed with productivity. So I like to read things that I feel like will be really meaningful. But this is more of just like a love story. It's called Out of Love. It's by Hazel Hayes. And I got this just because sometimes I'm in the mood for something a little bit more lighthearted. Although I don't know as it'll be that lighthearted because it's about a breakup. But here. So David Nichols, the best-selling author of One Day and Sweet Sorrow, said, "A smart, touching, time-bending romance, funny and affecting." For anyone who has loved and lost and lived to tell the tale, this gorgeously written debut is a love story told in reverse, a modern novel with the heart of a classic, truthful, tragic, and ultimately full of hope. Out of Love begins at the end. As a young woman packs up her ex-boyfriend's belongings and prepares to see him one last time, she wonders when they fell out of love, where it all went wrong, and whether it was ever right to begin with. Burdened with a broken heart, she can't help but ask herself, is love really worth it? These are the questions we obsess over when the relationship ends, even when obsessing can do no good. But instead of moving forward through the emotional fallout of a breakup, Out of Love moves backward in time, weaving together an already unraveled tapestry, from tragic ending to magical first kiss. Each chapter jumps further into this couple's past, mining their history for the days and details that might help us understand love, how it happens, and why it sometimes falls apart. Readers will adore this bittersweet romance, a sparkling debut novel to fall in love with. So I thought this could just be kind of a lighter read if I'm just in the mood for a little bit of a love story. And the cover is super cute, I thought, as well. I love good cover art. Speaking of which, this one is bold. I'm sure you've probably heard of it. My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Atessa Moshfegh. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. But this book is very popular. I know a ton of people who have read it. A lot of people love it. But there are also a fair few people who aren't big fans. I think it's one of those things that's you either love it or you hate it. It is a bit of a strange premise. So I guess I'll just go ahead and read the back. A New York Times Book Review, Notable Book of the Year. The shocking and strangely tender story of a young woman's efforts to duck the ills of the world with the help of one of the worst psychiatrists in the annals of literature. Our narrator should be happy, shouldn't she? She's young, thin, pretty, a recent Columbia graduate, works an easy job at a hip art gallery, lives in an apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, paid for, like the rest of her needs, by her inheritance. But there is a hole in her heart, and it isn't just the loss of her parents or the way her Wall Street boyfriend treats her, or the sadomasochistic relationship with her best friend Riva. It's the year 2000 in a city aglitter with wealth and possibility. What could be so terribly wrong? Both tender and blackly funny, merciless and compassionate, My Year of Rest and Relaxation is a powerful answer to that question, and a showcase for the gifts of one of our major writers working at the height of her powers. So I'm really excited. I love a good female author, and I think this story holds a lot of potential. I really have no idea what it's going to be about. I mean, of course I do, but it's a bit of an odd premise, I'd say at least. I did actually flip this open because on my way back to school, I was upgraded to first class, and the person I was sitting next to was reading a book. And have you seen those TikToks where it's me romanticizing my life in the airport? Well, I always romanticize my life in the airport. And I was really reading The Idiot on my Kindle, but I was like, who's gonna pull out a Kindle in the middle of this flight? I want to be reading a book. So I pulled this out and read the first few pages, but I honestly couldn't get that into it. I really wanted to read my other book. So I kind of gave up despite the less appealing nature of a Kindle, I guess. So yeah, next up is, going back to this one, I also think it's hilarious that the authors never actually write their blurbs at all. I'm sure this author would never use the word hip to describe, the art gallery, but I just think that's funny. I read the word hip and I just kind of thought of my mom. Anyway, the next one, I love this cover. I think it's so pretty. It's by Elena Ferrante, and she is a really celebrated author. And the first thing, honestly, that attracted me to this book in Barnes & Noble was the cover, but it's called The Long Life of Adults, and this is the blurb. In this powerful new novel by Elena Ferrante, 14-year-old Giovanna is searching for her reflection in two kindred cities that fear and detest one another. Naples of the Heights, which wears a mask of refinement, and Naples of the Depths, a place of carnality and passion, where her guide is the unforgettable Aunt Vittoria. Here is another gripping, highly addictive Neapolitan story from one of the greatest novelists of our time. So I'm really excited. This one actually the best book of the year from the Washington Post, Time, NPR, the New York Post, Harper's Bazaar. So I'm really excited, and I love a good coming of age story. I love Italy, so I'm super excited for this. And I guess I feel like I'm doing a bad job at the ASMR. I only listen to one person's ASMR, so I feel like I don't know that much about it. Is that good? I don't know. And go to sleep, you know? This is supposed to be relaxing, so just go to sleep. Maybe shut your eyes and just sort of let the words go by. So another book I got is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. She won the Pulitzer Prize for The Goldfinch, which I've read half of. But I just saw this actually on my bookshelf, so I assumed my mother was reading it or something, maybe my sister. But I wanted to read it, so I brought it back. This is supposed to be like a very dark academia book. The blurb says, under the influence of their charismatic classics professor, a group of clever, eccentric misfits in an elite New England college discover a way of thinking and living that is a world away from the humdrum existence of their contemporaries. But when they go beyond the boundaries of normal morality, they slip gradually from obsession to corruption and betrayal, and at last inexorably into evil. Very spooky. I usually don't like this type of book, but I think it could be a fun read, and Donna Tartt's an incredible author. Also, I mean, undeniably, I love having kind of pretentious books on my shelf, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, it's that was as good as I hoped. But yeah, I'm excited about this one. I think it's a little bit lower down on my list, but I think it still sounds nice. Next is My Year Abroad by Chang-Rae Lee, and this one was a Pulitzer Prize finalist, and I love this color scheme. It's so lovely. I love the idea of having a year abroad. That's so nice. But I guess I'll just get right into it. Spy books. Okay. Widely considered a master craftsman, Chang-Rae Lee returns with My Year Abroad, the exuberant story of a young American life transformed by an unusual Asian adventure. A provocative novel about the human capacities for pleasure, pain, and connection. The story follows Tiller, a very average, fairly unmotivated college student from New Jersey, and Pong Lu, a wildly creative, larger-than-life Chinese-American entrepreneur who sees something intriguing in Tiller beyond his bored exterior and takes him under his wing. When Pong brings him along on a boisterous business trip across Asia, Tiller is catapulted from ordinary young man to talented protege, and pulled into a series of ever more extreme and eye-opening experiences that transform his view of the world, of Pong, and of himself. In the breathtaking, precise, elliptical prose that Lee is known for, the narrative alternates between Tiller's outlandish, mind-boggling year with Pong and the strange, riveting, emotionally complex domestic life that follows it. Rich with commentary on Western attitudes, Eastern stereotypes, capitalism, mental health, parenthood, and more. My Year Abroad is also an exploration of the surprising effects of cultural immersion on a young American in Asia, on a Chinese man in America, and on an unlikely couple hiding out in the suburbs. Tinged at once with humor and darkness, electric with its accumulating surprises and suspense, this is a novel that only Chang-Rae Lee could have written, and one that will be read and discussed for years to come. So, I'm very excited about this one. It's super nice. It's a hardcover. It's very heavy. I don't know. I feel like it keeps slipping in my hands. But, I don't know. ASMR. asleep maybe. My books fell over. Oh no. And to the relaxing nature of this, they were balanced very precariously. Okay, sorry about that. It won't be edited out. But anyway, maybe shut your eyes, relax a little bit, go to sleep. The next one is more of a fun read. It still has the 50% off label on it from Barnes & Noble, their hardcover sale. But this one I'm really excited about because sometimes if it's hard to get like into a book, and everyone says that Taylor Jenkins Reid's books are just like, you can read them in like one sitting, so I'm super excited about that. I guess I'll just go for it. It's fine. Pretty. I love on hardcovers that like underneath the jacket, like that's so pretty, the yellow and blue. Okay. So, from the New York Times bestselling author of Daisy Jones and the Six, 4 famous siblings throw an epic party to celebrate the end of summer. But over the course of 24 hours, their lives will change forever. Malibu, August 1983. It's the day of Nina Riva's annual end of summer party, and anticipation is at a fever pitch. Everyone wants to be around the famous Rivas. Nina, the talented surfer and supermodel, brothers Jay and Hud, one a championship surfer, the other a renowned photographer, and their adored baby sister Kit. Together, the siblings are a source of fascination in Malibu and the world over, especially as the offspring of the legendary singer Mick Riva. The only person not looking forward to the party of the year is Nina herself, who never wanted to be the center of attention, and who has also just been very publicly abandoned by her pro tennis player husband. Oh, and maybe Hud, because it's long past time for him to confess something to the brother from whom he's been inseparable since birth. Jay, on the other hand, is counting the minutes until nightfall when the girl he can't stop thinking about promised she'll be there. And Kit has a couple of secrets of her own, including a guest she invited without consulting anyone. By midnight, the party will be completely out of control. By morning, the Riva mansion will have gone up in flames. But before that first spark, in the early hours before dawn, the alcohol will flow, the music will play, and the loves and secrets that shaped this family's generations will all come rising to the surface. Malibu Rising is a story about one unforgettable night in the life of a family. The night they each have to choose what they will keep from the people who made them and what they will leave behind. So I think that one will be a bit more of a fun read. Next is my last book that I got this break, and it's very heavy. It's called A Little Life. It's by Hanya Yanagihara, and it won the Man Booker Prize, I believe, and it also was a National Book Award finalist. I actually have already read this, but I purchased a copy because I had read it on my Kindle, and I just like this book. I feel like it was such a monumental read for me. I really wanted to have a copy, and yeah, I guess I'll just go ahead and read the description. A Little Life is one of the most astonishing, challenging, upsetting, and profoundly moving books in many a season. An epic about love and friendship in the 21st century that goes into some of the darkest places fiction has ever traveled, and yet somehow improbably breaks through into the light. That's very true, I'd say. Very apt description. When 4 classmates from a small Massachusetts college moved to New York to make their way, they're broke, adrift, and buoyed only by their friendship and ambition. There is kind, handsome Willem, an aspiring actor, J.B., a quick-witted, sometimes cruel Brooklyn-born painter seeking entry into the art world, Malcolm, a frustrated architect at a prominent firm, and withdrawn, brilliant, enigmatic Jude, who serves as their center of gravity. Over the decades, their relationships deepen and darken, tinged by addiction, success, and pride. Yet their greatest challenge, each comes to realize, is Jude himself. By midlife, a terrifyingly talented litigator, yet an increasingly broken man. His mind and body scarred by an unspeakable childhood and haunted by what he fears is a degree of trauma that he'll not only be unable to overcome, but that will define his life forever. In rich and resplendent prose, Hanya Yanagihara has fashioned a tragic and transcendent hymn to brotherly love, a masterful depiction of heartbreak, and a dark examination of the tyranny of memory and the limits of human endurance. So it's definitely heartbreaking, as you can see on the cover. It doesn't look very comfortable, but I truly loved this book. There's a section in it called The Happy Years, and I can assure you that that is an ironic section. I cried my way through it. This book receives a lot of praise and a lot of criticism, both I think are valid, but overall I think it was a very pivotal read for me, so I'm happy to have a copy. It's very thick. Let's see how many pages it is. Okay. 701 pages. So that's a lot of words. It took me a while to read it, but one day I was just at home and I just was reading in the bath, like crying. When I was reading that whole section, I guess it's not that interesting now that I say it. But I guess the point of this isn't to be interesting. It's more about relaxing a little bit. So I hope this was a little bit relaxing. Maybe it helped you sleep a little bit or just took your mind off things. I had a lot of fun doing it, so maybe I'll do it again. I don't know. But I wish you all a very happy start to the spring semester and a wonderful semester overall. And I hope you have a lovely night and sleep well.